What's up, my dudes? It's Ansu, and today I wanted to talk to you all about how to get out of a reading slump and how to read more. Reading is such a huge part of my life that whenever I have some downtime, I end up reading. That's like my first go-to thing for a hobby. So I know that it is the bane of a lot of our existences when we get into a reading slump. So I have a few tips on how to kind of get out of that reading slump / how to not get into a reading slump in the first place. So let's talk about some of them and also how I've been able to read a little bit more than I usually do. Now, my first tip is actually to read a variety of books. So my most read genres are fantasy and romance, mainly. So under like fantasy itself, there's so much more. There's like adult fantasy, middle grade fantasy, YA fantasy, and they're all different in the way that it is laid out. First of all, like adult fantasy would be more detail oriented, and obviously you have adult super characters, and it could be more grim and dark depending on what the book is. Whereas YA fantasy, a little bit more whimsical and a lot easier to read for most readers. And middle grade is just very whimsical, and it's just a fun time to read. And even inside that, we have another umbrella where we have a lot of other topics to choose from. Whereas even in romance, you have like historical romance, contemporary romance, and we also have like pirate romances. I have never actually read a pirate romance, but I'm very interested to read it. But I've definitely read a ton of historical romances, contemporary romances. It's definitely a lot of variety in there. So I would say definitely read different varieties of books, because if you keep reading from the same type of genre or the same type of books or like the same topic in books, you're easily going to get yourself into a slump because you feel like repeating the same type of books all the time, and it can get really frustrating. Tip number 2 is maybe try to focus on shorter books. If you choose books like, I don't know, The Poppy War or any Brandon Sanderson books or Brent Weeks books, they are very long, and it would definitely take a lot of time to get through it. Of course, you can read these if you want to, but just keep it in the back of your mind, because these books are so long, there's a good chance that you can put yourself into a slump because you're forcing yourself to read so many pages, and you just don't feel that accomplished because you just finished one book in a very long time. Tip number 3 is to read books you actually enjoy. Don't read anything because someone else expects you to read something. Don't just focus on classics. If you hate reading classics, you're never going to be able to read it. I know for me at least, I get judged for reading fantasy and romance mainly, and I'm supposed to read a lot of Nobel Prize winners. Of course, these books are amazing. I personally am not interested in reading it, and I know if I actually end up reading it, I will put myself into a slump. So my whole idea is to not get myself into a slump and not read at all. That's such a terrible idea. So that's why read books that you enjoy. Even if it's like a guilty pleasure thing, you are satisfying yourself. Read for yourself. Don't think about others. Don't think about being judged by others. Just read whatever you want to and enjoy it. Tip number 4, I think, is to listen to audiobooks. Now, I know a lot of people frown upon listening to audiobooks or audiobook readers because they think it's not actually reading. Now, there are actually a lot of studies out there that proves to you that actually listening to books and also physically reading them pretty much gives you the exact same amount of benefit. You're still consuming the story and really enjoying that story, so that's the whole point. With audiobooks, there are different services that you can use. I have a whole video on the different services that you can use, and also a few audiobook recommendations. I will leave it linked in the cards if you're interested. You have the option of testing out different audiobook services. Some of them can be completely free for a little while at least, and you can test it out of whether you actually like the idea of audiobooks itself. If you are a slightly faster reader when you're actually physically reading, you probably cannot stand listening to audiobooks at 1.0 speed. You can also increase that speed and listen to it on a much higher speed, which is such a game changer. And I can confidently say that I read so much more than I usually do this year because I started listening to audiobooks so much. Last couple of years, I had only been physically reading, and I rarely ever picked up an audiobook. And because of that, I read maybe like 30 books throughout the entire year. This time around, I already read 60 books, which is a huge thing, and I still have like another 6 months left. I can definitely, if I really put my mind to it, I can definitely hit at least 100 books, which is pretty amazing to me. It never really happens, so it's definitely a huge thing for you to maybe check out. Tip number 5 or 6 or something. I lost count, guys. It is to reread your favorites. I know this is not something that is ideal for a lot of people. I'm kind of one of those people. The only book that I feel like I've ever reread is, well, Harry Potter, which we don't promote on this channel, but also a couple of Julia Quinn books. They are historical romances and they were like a childhood favorite of mine. Yes, I read a lot of romances when I was a kid, but I have reread it to kind of get myself into the groove of reading again. This was in the past, but honestly, just rereading even little scenes in the book, which I really enjoyed, just got me out of this little slump that I was in. I'm one of those people who cannot like commit myself to an entire book again, which I've already read in the past. It happens quite often to me when I can't read the entire book again. So at least rereading like little scenes and snippets that you really enjoyed in that book will actually really help you to understand and realize how much you love reading and why you love reading in the first place. And the final tip that I have is to join a book community. So if you're watching this video, you're probably trying to figure out how to get out of a slump. So if you decide to comment on this video, I will interact with you. You can also comment on a ton of different people's videos and interact with different types of readers. And also if you join like Booktube itself, it helps other people to find you. If you have like Book Twitter or Bookstagram, these are like different options that you have that you can join and talk to different people about books. You can also join like book clubs through these things, or also like buddy read books with other people, so you can actually kind of fangirl about books together. It's such a fun thing to do, to talk to other people about books, especially when you don't have like real life friends who actually read. This actually helps so much. It gets you more hyped about books, and I think it's such a game changer. It's just a fun thing to try to do if you want to, so I would highly recommend doing that as well. Alright you guys, those are all the tips that I had on how to kind of get out of reading slump, not fall into it, and also how to read a little bit more. Also, if you're not in a reading slump, you end up reading a lot more, so it goes quite a lot hand in hand. I hope this helped you somewhat, and yeah, that is everything from me. I hope you all enjoyed. If you're new here and want to subscribe, hit my face over there, and I also have 2 of my previous videos linked in the corner over there. Comment down below on other tips that you think that can help other people to get out of a reading slump. But that is everything from me. I will see you all next time with another one. Until then, I'll talk to you all in the comments. Bye!